Good morning and welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti along with Andy Serling. The weather, one word, perfect. I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to make anybody mad up north. Main track, fast, turf course, firm.
I kind of want to make Gabby mad up north. I think for abandoning us down here and going up north, I'm kind of glad she's freezing up there. And
yeah, it's going to be cold up north over the weekend. I know Andy was talking to his mom. She's up there in Saratoga. She's cold, so all up in the Northeast. I'm sorry. We don't have nothing to do with the weather, but enjoy it down here. We're going to show you what we got going on this afternoon. Of course, we start the day off with the first pick five of the afternoon. Rolling super high five, of course, first, and the pick five. Andy will have a ticket in just a moment, and then the Rainbow Six getting up there in the stratosphere, up there in the almost $800,000. So if this thing makes it to the weekend, it's going to be well over $1 million.
Well, yeah, certainly through the weekend, depending on what happens here. And we'll see. We'll see how these things play out, because as we've seen, we can have sequences here with a number of bombs. Now we have a late pick five in the last 5 races today. You'll have that Rainbow Six ticket. I got a pick five, though, to start it out in the first race today. And hopefully we can make it through the first race. We have a single of the heavy favorite, actually. I am going to single a horse who is going to be a big favorite. We'll talk about this race somewhat briefly, as we have an 11-race card. Going to use 4 horses in both the second and last legs and try to get with the same 2 horses, actually, in races 3 and 4.
Wow, look at that.
We'll see if that works. And a lot of 6s on my ticket. So a very satanic ticket that I'm working out in this play. We'll see how it works out. But I don't know, Ron, what you have to say about this race, because Starship Galaxy, on paper, a horse who was also down the inside, and when it rail you didn't want to be on, as if you needed another reason to like this horse, may have just found the right field.
And she's a previous winner at the distance, so it looks like the logical choice. I threw the 5, Mia Motion in second, dropping to this level, and I ended it up with the 4, Petite Lapine, is trying easier on the dirt after that so-so campaign on the turf.
I agree. I like to call her the little rabbit, as she is the little rabbit. The problem with Mia Emotion, the 5, is that the one dirt race, which was her first start, and it was rained off the turf, was such a poor effort. You just don't know if she can handle it. Obviously, her turf form's pretty good. I tried the 2 for second, maybe a cold 6-2, but I've got the chalk number as it is.
All right, so you're singling that one in the first race. Let's go right to race number 2 this afternoon, and this one here is a 6-furlong claiming event. Fillies 3-year-olds, $25,000 the claiming level, and we're going to have 8 runners in here, and no scratches in this race. And Andy, you went with the number 7 horse in here, and that is Starship Starlet.
This is a race that you and I could probably spend most of the show talking about, not that we want to,
right.
But it's a very tricky race because you've got 3 first-time starters. Now, obviously, the inside 2, the 2 and 3, George Navarro, Jane Sibeli, they're going to be the ones that are going to take the most money, and for good reason. They're winning barns, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, the 7 Starship Starlet, and I love the Starship double, is actually, and I know that Steve Dwoskin's obviously been struggling, and his numbers with firsters aren't outstanding, but it's not like he's winning with a high percentage with his other horses. He had that big-priced winner, I think, yesterday, right?
That was his first winner of the year, or the meet, we'll say.
This horse is a half to a horse named Willie Beeman, who you probably remember, actually won the King's Bishop in Saratoga a few years ago. I think it was the race before the dead heat in the Travers, and that was just 2 days after he won the Albany at 1 1/8, and he won almost $800,000, and he's one of 3 foals from the dam that could all run fairly well. So from a pedigree standpoint, for better or for worse, this is actually the one that has the best pedigree, and as long as I'm guessing, why don't I guess with a firster at a price?
You know, and you're right about, you're talking about Jane Sibeli, and you're also talking about George Navarro. Those guys, I've learned over the summer here and all, they don't do that great with first-time starters. That's not their gig. You know what I mean? But with that said, I did go to the number 3, She's Dynamite, who's the daughter of J.P. Gusto. Couldn't have scripted, I believe, an easier spot to start a career. Jane Sibeli, as I mentioned, Lasix has jockey Joel Rosario. I went that way, and I was sort of leaning between her and the horse I have in second to 5, Unknown. But this race, to me, you're absolutely right, wide open.
It really is, because we don't know if any of the first-time stars can run. And I'm using all 3 of them because, I mean, it's an easy assumption to say, geez, if one of them can run at all, they found themselves in the right field, and it's a reasonable one. So the question is, who are you going to use? If not, you're going to use Unknown, and certainly that horse can win. My feeling with Prize Arch, the horse I finished second, who I'm a little interested in, I want to take horses at prices in this race. There's so little form in here, Ron, that you might as well get a little price when you're wrong. And if you look at Prize Arch, the last race was a mile. The only time this horse sprinted on a dry track, got a 44 buyer, a figure that puts him in the running here, a big price. So I got Prize Arch in there. A lot of guessing.
And if you agree with Andy in the first race with the single and the 6, if you put some kind of ticket together, that would be, this might be a race you want to go all. Hit the button if you can find somebody that you could, single later on down, or you're rich and you can have a big ticket. That's the.
I'm going to try to get lucky with my goofy 6 and 7 and see if it works out. And if not, it'll be just another loser.
Well, let's go to race number 3 today. 6 furlongs. It's an allowance optional claimer. Fillies and mares. They're 4-year-olds and up. That claiming level is $35,000. One equipment note: the number 1 horse will race with the blinkers off this afternoon. And Andy and I are in agreement here with number 3, Celebrity Star.
Boy, there are a lot of layoffs with that. You talked about Candy and Thunder off a 2+ month layoff. I don't know about you, but Celebrity Star, I considered singling her because on paper, you could get a little pressure early from the 5 Miss Darla, but this is a horse that pressed outside against a good rail, against a horse, Fonda Sarah, who ran extremely well in a tough field last time. If she breaks cleanly, she's supposed to be very hard to beat.
And Dave Caston's got Corey Lanner, and he's been riding great form. You've been I've been talking about him. 3 winners yesterday.
Corey's having a great meet.
Right.
I mean, listen, you expect certain things from Javier Castellano. Luis Saez is riding very well. I mean, a lot of guys are riding well, but he is really, to me, and it's funny with Corey. He came to Saratoga 2 summers ago, and he won some races. He struggled a little bit, but he got going. Last summer was a disaster for Corey in Saratoga,
wins for a while.
And it really seemed almost unfair, and I watch him down here, and I feel like he's a rider that's ready, and it's tough coming from Kentucky to Saratoga. Unless the Kentucky guys you're riding for are winning up there, it's very hard to get business. Everybody else is established, but I think he's shown people down here that he belongs in the mix with the top riders.
Well, you mentioned the number 2 winning for Sarah, who I put in second, you put in third. This one is dropping, turning back after dueling on the inside and weakening to finish that distant 7th. It was in the $200,000 Sunshine Millions distaff. This is a 7-time winner, trained by Jenna Antonucci, and I think this is the level 35,000 for this horse.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think that she's a player in here. The 3 is supposed to beat her. For my money, I backed up with a 6 Norkey because I just felt like if somebody's going to beat the 3, I'd rather take an unknown. And Norkey's got numbers on synthetic, going longer, going shorter, that are close enough to give this horse a chance, and she's got the pedigree to handle the dirt. So I'm going to take a shot with Reed Baker, a trainer I respect, that maybe this horse will handle the dirt and use this horse as a backup.
Yeah, and I just close it out with the 5 Miss Darla. I'll tell you why. If you read the conditions of this race, this is the only 11-time winner in the field. That's a lot of wins in here. This was turning back to 3/4, returned from the layoff, went up, duel for the lead, flattened out against $12,000 optional claimers, 7/8 of a mile. Horse certainly knows where the winner's circle is, and it's one of my angles that I just throw in. I mean, I wouldn't go to the bank on it, but someone I'm going to throw on my ticket.
She's in a tough against the 3. This is a much tougher spot than last time.
Well, we're going to go to race number 4 this afternoon. It's a 1-mile maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds, $12,500. We do have a scratch in here of number 4, El Maxi, and on top of Andy's ticket is the number 6 horse in here, and that is Billion by Design. And we got to go back and show a video.
Well, I mean, obviously, Social Stranger is going to be a big favorite in here and is the horse to beat. And we'll take a look at Social Stranger. This is 2 back in the slop when he finished second. That race, he got a 66 buyer. It's a race that got almost a 70 buyer. Now, I'm not going to argue with the number. I didn't look up to see how many other 1 1/8 races that day. I'm guessing it's possible there was only 1. They're tough figures to make. Overall, the least reliable speed figures are off the turf races sometimes, especially the distance when it's the only one run that day. It's hard to imagine that this horse really ran the best career race it ever ran on in a sloppy off the turf race. And keep in mind, that was an off the turf race. Not that any good horses in here, but this is a dry dirt scheduled dirt race. I don't have any confidence that this horse is that good and is going to win this race. Is the horse to beat you have to use, but I'm not thrilled.
And the red flag is flying because the horse is tumbling today to this $12,500 level.
Total
With all of that said, there. So tell us about.
He'll probably win this race. I don't have anything against it. They're just. Todd Pletcher's also got the 2 Camino Canta in this race, and Todd's got outstanding numbers with his first-time starters in maiden claimers on the dirt at Gulfstream, as we'll show with this number. He's 6 for 14 over the last 5 years. He does it on the dirt, he does it on the turf, but Katinka, a horse who won almost $800,000, a grade 1 quality horse, sold for $200,000, almost $200,000, in for $12,500, a lot of red flags. Edgar Zayas is 0 for 7 riding for Todd Pletcher, has never ridden a horse lately. I guess it's the meat. It's hit the board. I was looking at some stats on Formulator. So all this makes me, because, I mean, the 1 Flowers for Lisa, good luck to her. She just is what she is. Brilliant by Design. Took a lot of money in that race as a first-time starter at Tampa. And you see good sealed. It was really like a sloppy type racetrack. And it looked to me, watching the replay, Ron, that this horse didn't handle the racetrack at all. They bet last time. The horse didn't handle the track. Gets a dry track here. Why not take a shot? It's the best alternative. The only knock is Mike Welsh has the same opinion as me, and I can't imagine the two of us being wise guys together. And
well,
being
I
right.
really like Efren Loza Jr. as a trainer. He does an excellent job. You look down at his stats, he's always around 30%. You know, he runs down here in the summer, goes up to Tampa in the wintertime. So good connections in there. And you got MSCL Jaramillo. We're going to toot Jockey's horns. He's another guy that's been riding very well here at Gulfstream Park. So I like the fact that it's 15-1 because the other ones that we mentioned, the 3 and the 1 and 2, are guesses. They're guesses.
If Flowers for Lisa wins this race, I'm not going to hit the pick 5. I can live with myself. Social Stranger's the worst to beat. And these kind of Pletcher horses usually win, but I don't know.
Let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. 1 mile and 1/16 on this firm turf course. Claim is 4 and up. Non-winners of 3 in life, $16,000. Scratch the 11. Jockey change on the 7. It's Arnie Fontanez. Shipwreck Kelly on my ticket. And there's the 3 horse in there, but I started it off with the 9. 7 Fleet Humor. I'll tell you why. It's a grade 3 stakes place, son of a Fleet Alex. Albeit that was on the Woodbine Poly track, is dropping to this level today. After following I thought a solid 3rd place finish on the turf here back on December 10th with back-to-back 7th place finishes against Tougher, and that was in the slop. One was in the slop, one was in the turf. I like where this horse is spotted. I think it's going to run well in here. I don't know what is on the morning line, 4-1 or something like that. I threw it on top of my ticket.
I used my top 3 as well as the 9 in my pick 5.
Right.
Hopefully we stay alive to this point. Be alive to all of them. I have no argument with that horse. You know, we wanted to show Shipwreck Kelly's last race, a horse that you have 2nd and I have 3rd in here. And you can draw your own conclusions. Because Shipwreck Kelly, I thought Corey put this horse in the right spot. And, you know, Richie and I, Migliori, when we talk about these races on Trips and Traps, like to say there's a difference between a bad ride and an unlucky ride. Corey got a little bit unlucky here. He was doing the right things, and he just got completely shut off here. My question to you, Ron, is would he have won the race if he got a clean trip? And even if he had gotten that clean trip and won, even though he wouldn't fit this condition, obviously, had he won the race, but theoretically, if he could be in here, wouldn't you just kind of say, well, all he was a winner with a perfect trip? I thought he had his chances here. I'm not thrilled with this horse, though he can win.
Well, you know, he's stuck behind those wall of horses that we just saw on the video and everything like that. But to answer your question, honestly, I don't know if he could have won that race. I mean, he had some trouble. Maybe 2nd. It just didn't have that final punch. You know, he wasn't strangling the horse. He was just looking for a place to run in that particular race. I threw him on the ticket. I went back and looked at the race, and I said, okay, I'll give him a shot in here. As you mentioned, you used 7 Fleet Humor on your ticket. But what about number 2, Clear View, that you have in 2nd?
I have a stat on this horse. You know, overall, on 50% drop downs on all surfaces, George Navarro is a 27% trainer, but that's not going to get him the money. And he's a $1.28 ROI. In turf races, he's just 1 for 10, and every single one of them was a super short price. 6 of them hit the board, but they're all super short prices. They're supposed to hit the board a high percentage of the time. They're not winning, and this horse, this is a real negative drop down on this horse, a horse who could easily win this race.
Yeah, easily win this race, but you're right. You know, you follow certain angles. We mentioned a little before, I don't like George Navarro with first-time starters. That's the way I look at it. You know, can he win? Of course. Can this one win? Of course. But you have to, you know, you got to play the angles every once in a while.
Well, you use them defensively in your multi-race bets, but you try to beat them intra-race. I'm married to Nusha's Tail. Shipping down here, getting a trainer switch to Steve DeMauro, who's been doing a good job with the horses he has down here. And this is a horse that's run against some better horses, has had some trips in New York. And you know what? I figured if these Pat Kelly horses that I like in New York are going to come down, there's 2 of them today, I'm going to pick both of them today. I'm going to be a little bit of a homer, I admit it. But you know what? Nusha's Tail is good enough to be a factor in this race and is going to be a big price, so I put him on top.
Yeah, 8-1 on the morning line. So that is the first 5 races on the card. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll look at my Rainbow 6 ticket. I'm hitting it today. And welcome back for take a look at our sixth race of the afternoon. It's a 1 mile turf event, maiden special weight. These are state bred 3-year-olds. We do have some scratches in here of the 4, 13 and 14. Got a late jockey change just before it came on. The 8 horse will be ridden by Luca Panici. And as I mentioned, I'm going to show you my Rainbow 6 ticket here. It looks like I'm stuck on $64.80. Went 3 deep in here with Our Way, Smorgasbord, and Keep the Dream Alive. I thought those was a logical 3, and you see the progression where it goes down. Always like to try and find a single. I couldn't do it, so I had to go a little deeper. I like to have that one single so I could spread a little bit more, but I sort of kept it a lot of 3s and a couple of 2s to keep it at $64.80.
Well, you and I are on the same page in the first race. If I was playing the Rainbow 6, I'd be using the 1, 7, and 10 as well in here. They look like the right 3 horses, at least to me. I put Smorgasbord on top. I thought this horse ran better, and obviously you agree, than Leonardo da Vinci in the last race with a much wider trip, first-time star. I like the effort. I agree with you that Our Way is the horse to beat in here.
Yeah, this one is stretching out to a mile after taking
we'll show the race. Why don't we show it while you talk about it?
Oh, no, there you go. That's right. I forgot we got a video. Let's talk about it. You know, it looks like if he was racing wide in this race, you'll see it here, Andy.
Not only, Ron, did he race wide, and he was wide in the first turn as well, but all the horses that finished ahead of him saved ground the entire way. So not only did he give up all that ground, but everybody that beat him had a much, much easier trip. My question for you is, can we expect a similar effort coming back in just 13 days?
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem. You know, I think 13 days here, you try and get into these turf races whenever you can. You mentioned that everybody saved ground. The winner of this race, Space Mountain, saved all the ground in there at 7.5 furlongs, just cruised on the inside. I thought he ran the best route. I went that way with the 10. You know, I just thought he had the best effort of this group in here. You know, turf racing's all about the trip, so he's got to carve out that good trip again from post number 10, which is always a concern.
He's been an unlucky horse, and this is a horse that I made a very big bet on in New York on November 8th and a big bet on in this race. And you know what? I'm going to let Jimmy Bond win without me. I didn't pick him on top. He's certainly a big part of my play. I'm very scared of him and totally agree with you that he is absolutely the horse to beat in this race.
Well, we both have the 1 on our ticket, too, in here, and that's Keep the Dream Alive.
Well, Christophe Clement is going to keep the dream alive that he can actually win with a first-time star of the turf. I mean, I don't think anybody at this meet has run more live horses in turf races and come away as empty as him. Now, one of them won and got disqualified, and the other horses have run very well. They just haven't quite gotten there. It's just they've run well, and this one's got a giant pedigree. You know the dams I have to. A very popular Florida horse.
Who's that?
A very popular misspelled Florida horse.
Which one is that?
Precious Passion.
Precious Passion. That's absolutely comes up on spell check every time.
Yep. and so this horse has plenty of pedigree, and it's Christophe and draws the rail.
And, you know, it's just one of these tickets, you leave them off your ticket, you're banging your head against the wall. You know what I mean? When you put your multi-race tickets together. So you got to put them in there. Christophe at any time can jump up and beat you.
Christophe and Chad Brown are the 2 best trainers with first-time stars in the turf I've ever seen. I mean, these guys are remarkable with first-time stars in the turf.
Yep. Let's go to race number 7 this afternoon. It's a 5-furlong turf event. Claim is 4 and up. Non-winners of 3 in life. We have 8 runners in this field, and Andy's going to tell us about his late pick 5 ticket today. And I'm interested to see what he's done.
Well, I did find a single. I'm going to single Malibu's Most Wanted in race number 8. And listen, there's other places to go in there. You used the 12 as well, who I considered. I'm going to use 2, 4, 6 in here. A big spread in the last race. Hopefully we can get there. I think my single today will be a much shorter price than yesterday's. You know I tipped my hand in this race. I'm picking Sun Worshipper, the other horse that Steve DeMoro takes over from Pat Kelly. 5 furlongs is a little bit of a question for this horse, but he's got a lot of hang in him. He's got a short burst. I'm hoping they can time it right. There's not a ton of pace on paper. I'm going to use him in here, but I acknowledge that I think you'll agree Swagger's probably the horse to beat, probably the speed in this race with midterm exam, who doesn't have a lot of turf pedigree.
You know, talking about the horse that you put on top, I looked down this morning and I see it's the morning line favorite, and I said, what did I miss here? I went back and looked, and I can totally understand why you would use this horse. I did not. Swagger, I am in total agreement with you, but I went with the number 6, I Feel Great, who's cutting back to 5 furlongs after going up, pressing the pace, getting lead, finishing second. It was against Similar, going 7.5 furlongs on a good turf. I should take some time and figure out how many horses going 7.5, turning back to 5 furlongs, win. I can't really get a number on it.
Well, it's a tricky thing, Ron, because I hate the turn back, but it's horse specific. You look at I Feel Great, and I think there's an argument that he's as efficient, if not better, in 5 furlong races than he is going longer. So I don't mind the turn back. It doesn't work for horses that are strictly router types.
Right. And Milt Wolfson is the trainer, and look who's riding Javier Castellano, and certainly we were singing his praises yesterday. He just wrote.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good, you know.
He's pretty good rider.
Let's talk about Swagger, who
That's why he's won 3 straight eclipses.
He's going back to what he does best, Swagger. 6 races sprinting, 2 wins, and a second after hitting the board at one of 2 recent 5 furlong turf races. He's been ducking the raindrops around here. There was both of those races moved to a sealed sloppy track. Antonio Chiaffi, Carlos Olivero in the saddle. So Swagger, 2-time winner, sprinting on the grass, as you mentioned, looks like the logical one.
Yeah, he does. I'm hoping to make it through with the even-numbered horses 2, 4, and 6. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we'll go to race number 8 this afternoon, and this one is 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf course. It's a maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds, 25,000. Scratch the 10, Giant Storm, a horse that both Andy and I had. So, well, I had some interest in. I don't know if Andy did.
I had the horse 5th.
Yeah.
I mean, I have him in the mix.
Also, take out all the alsos, 13 down to 16, and here's your single. Take it away. Malibu's most wanted. You want to show us the last? Oh, it's that. We got a stat on it.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this quite a bit. Mike Maker's as good a trainer off the claim in the turf as in the game. He really may be the best. He has the numbers to back it up. They're not small samples. Off the claim with maidens on the turf, he does well. And I know this horse isn't coming out of a great field. I'm not going to defend that. But Mike Maker seems to improve these horses, and I'm not going to fight that.
Well, the horse I used on my ticket in here, Andy, I want to talk about, not Malibu's most wanted. Now, he's the logical one to beat. There's no distance, you know, like all the reasons you just mentioned.
Your horse is dangerous. I had him 4th in here. I agree with you.
Well, here's why. I thought he moved too soon.
He did.
He rallied from 11th. He went right up there. He's 2nd before settling for 5th at this level and distance. I think that move was not timed right, and I think that Mike Petro, Edgar Zayas handling the outside post today. I think this horse ran well enough. It's sort of a sneaky when you look at its past performance. The horse just faded.
I agree with you.
So that's why I used that one on that ticket.
No, I strongly considered this horse and moving him higher in there because he was 3 wide in the first turn, 4 wide in the second turn, made a premature move. I agree with everything. I wish he didn't draw post well.
No, that's the problem.
If this horse had drawn the rail, it would have made, or inside post, it would have made my ticket problematic. Because I think I would have had to use him on my ticket with the 8. The post bothers me here. My goofy idea here is Space Ranger. I'm going to try to get in there. It's a half to 2 turf winners from 5 to try it. It's a very good turf family and the second family. Speaking of Pat Kelly, and you think when he had those live oak horses, the dam is after Binary Light, who's a very good runner on the turf for those connections. And this horse has the pedigree in New York bred. And you know what? Ran well enough on synthetic at Woodbine to suggest if this horse really is supposed to be a turf horse, he could be good enough to get a piece of this. It's got to be a giant price.
Yeah, he's got 15-1 in the morning line. I think he's going to be higher than that. Now, we both closed it out with the 5 dividend. Claimant tech slice in half. Ran okay a couple of starts back. Came up empty last time out. What happened? I don't know.
Tougher field. Tougher field. Yeah. He was in a bad field, 2 back. And White, I tell you what. He can win this race. He got a sensational ride by Jose Lezcano 2 back and still lost. And I know it was a first-time start for Mike Matz, but still, he should have won that day.
Well, let's go to race number 9 this afternoon, and this is a 7 furlong maiden claiming event for 4-year-olds up, $35,000, and we have 8 runners in this field, and the morning line favorite in is the horse that you have on top, our buddy Nick Zito, Mountain Cry, and let's hear about it.
I'll show the race. I've got nothing to say. I mean, this is a horse that lost to a very, very heavy favorite, now our Commodore last time in a sloppy track. And, you know, I tell you something, Nick's had a very tough meet. His horses have been running well lately. He had a horse that at 25-1 that ran the best race, I thought, in that 10th or 9th race yesterday, going a mile. And I thought Mountain Cry ran very well. I don't think this horse improved in the slop. Arguably, this horse run better figures than a dry track. I was going to try to beat this horse because I don't think you're getting 5-2. I think you're going to get closer to 6-5 on this horse. But I just think he's way the horse to beat. But I don't disagree with your horse, Lemon Royal. I think he's very interesting.
Yeah, you know, I pick a long shot each and every day, and this is my long shot, Lemon Royal. I'll tell you what, turning back to 7/8 on the main track, went up, set the pace from the rail, weekend late to finish 5th, beaten 2.5 lengths, going 2 turns on the turf. Loved this angle. I think this one, everybody think this horse is going to be on the lead. They're not on the lead. He's going to start from a second place position, I think, and if he does, he can win it. If he goes up and gets the lead, I'm not that convinced.
Wow.
I believe it's 8-1 in the morning line. I'm not sure, but I threw that one on top. Mountain Cry for all the reasons you mentioned, and Andy, I'm glad you got it in second.
No, I'm glad I didn't pick it on top because it would have just been the same 2 horses because I considered putting it on top. And I'll tell you something else. This horse, has run one dry dirt track race, and it's the best figure it ever ran, second best figure of 66.
Right.
That Beyer figure of 66 in its debut at Saratoga, I know it was a 5-furlong race, and it was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, but regardless, that's a figure that's as good as what Mountain Cry is running now, and that was its debut figure as a 2-year-old. Why can't? Who says this horse has been running on the right surface? Maybe this horse did not like a wet track, and that's why it ran poorly. I think this horse is very dangerous in here.
Well, I'm glad you look at it from a different angle. We come up with the same horse. I like that. You know, I just go because it's one of my favorite angles in there. Who'd you close it out with in here?
Well, the 6, but for me, it's 5-7.
Right,
for me,
5-7.
I mean, not the 6 can't win. Horses' races are okay, but I think the 5 is a very, very interesting horse in here.
Well, let's go to race number 10. Boy, this is a really nice race. 1 mile and 3/16 on the turf, maiden special weight. Fillies, 3-year-olds. We have a scratch in here of number 5, Main Asset.
It's a big player to scratch, too.
Yeah, it's a big player. I had him in there, but I moved it around a little bit. You have Verboen on top of your ticket, I believe, and I have the 4-horse Gioia Stella. So, Verboen, I know we want to go back and show you this horse's race from, I believe it was on December 20th.
Yeah, Verboen ran significantly lower speed figure than Gioia Stella, and maybe at the end of the day it'll turn out that Gioia Stella is better. This is a horse that Timeform likes better than Beyer, but I didn't bet because of that. In my opinion, this was not Javier's best ride. I mean, Javier is obviously a sensational rider. I think this is one he would agree he'd like to have back. He kind of got victimized because of that outside post, and I think he made a decision because he was hung wide and he could never save ground the post, and he needed to make that first run on everybody. And I understand that, but at the end of the day, he's wide the whole way, and he made a premature move in this race, and I think it resulted in his performance being a lot worse in theory than it actually was. And he's going to have to run well to beat Gioia Stella, because I do think that she's better than the horses that beat her last time, but I think she can do it, and you have to think the 4 is going to be favored today.
Talking about Gioia Stella, she's a $1.5 million daughter of Medaglia Dora. She's a half-sister to a horse you know, that's Grade 1 Stakes place, Sea Queen, who went up, I think, won the Belmont, or was second in the Belmont Oaks.
She won the Prep, the Wonder again, and she was second to a Chad horse, actually, a Coolmore Chad horse in the inaugural Belmont Oaks.
Yeah, she rallied to come within a half length of X in the maiden ranks in her mile in the 16th career debut. Christophe Clement, we talked about him. He's 25% with first-time Lasix, which is just an angle that doesn't mean that much in there. These two, you got to have on the ticket. I went to the 1, Hypnotic. We mentioned Christophe Clement. You know, that seemed like the way to go. If you can't choose one over the other in here. At least I can't.
Well, you've got the 4's already run well. The 1's a bit of a guess. I mean, you know, Gioia Stella is a classic example of the Christophe first-time stars to me. This horse that ran a winning race first time out and just didn't get it done, but lost to a promising, well-bred Shug horse in that race. The 1 has got some pedigree to handle the grass. Actually, the dam is a half to pulpit, but it's really a very grassy family. 146 hopefully gets through it for me.
Yeah, she's also a half to what's it, English Chatter, Grade 1 Stakes.
Endless Chatter. Was that did Dale train that horse, Romans?
I don't remember. Yeah.
I feel like Endless Chatter was a dirt horse. I think. I feel like it.
Let's go to race number 11, our final race on Friday's card. 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf. Claim is 4 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life. 16,000. Scratch the also eligible number 13. I went to the 2 in here, Papa Freud, and you went to the number 10, Jim 2, Joe Orsino. 8-1 on the line.
I don't know about you, but I spent an awful lot of time looking at this race, and I'm using the 1, 2, 4, 7, and 10, and on a pick 5, and obviously we hope that we get that far. Whippo. I'm going to show a stat. I'm a huge Kathleen O'Connell fan, and I know that you like her too. She does a sensational job, but I found a trainer stat on her that didn't do a lot for me. Over 15 off the claim on turf with only 4 hitting the board. I'm not going to split hairs and not use this horse on my ticket, but when you've got a race, Ron, where you feel like there's 5 strong contenders, you're going to have to make some decisions, and that's why I've left that one out. The problem I have with Papa Freud, and I agree this horse is very much in the play of a third, is the 1 for 33 lifetime record. 1
for 33 and was 68-1 last time out. You certainly got to take 6-1 today. When you know what's the old saying? You went to the funeral.
You missed the wedding and you're going to the funeral. And this is, even though it didn't win, I agree, last time it's time, but draws well in here and is a very logical player in the race.
Right. So tell us about the 7 in here, Value Tempo.
Well, I mean, with Value Tempo, I'm just kind of hoping this is a horse that has back form that can win it and maybe wakes up off a little bit of a freshening for Phil Serpy, who's been kind of live at the meet, source of run. As far as Jim 2, you know, Jim 2 is more of a speed type horse, but the reality is that this horse broke his maiden rating on the turf, and he showed that he can stalk, and there's speed in this race, and I think that Edgar can get good early position with a horse in a race that the 2 and 8 could both be involved in the pace that could be somewhat quick and could set a good stalking trip in here. This is not a dirt horse, even though it's run okay, and met much tougher horses on the turf in the recent races, and that race at Aqueduct was chasing outside in there in a weird turf course at Aqueduct. Jim 2 is a dangerous horse, but a good position in here. I like this horse.
I missed him, but as you were talking, I was going back and looking at the past performance. He fits well in here. He does, and I like the fact that you pointed out that he doesn't have to be on the lead where most people would tend that he does. Yeah,
I agree. He's not. He's a speed horse that once they show the ability to rate and they win a race rating, that's good enough for me.
Well, I think that's good enough for us, too. We did the whole card here. We were just waiting for track announcer Larry Comas, our buddy, to give us all the updated changes.
Today? Think he has a tie on today?
No, he doesn't have a tie on today. He goes very casual until the big days. Big day, Saturday and Sunday.
Shows off on the big days?
Yeah, he shows up.
I'm going to shame him into wearing a tie every day from now on.
You think?
No, but I'd like to try.
All right, that's it from us. We'll be back in a little while, and Larry will be here in just a moment or two.